Imagine being locked inside a prison cell for 27 years, not 27 days, not 27 months, 27 years. Imagine watching the world change while you remain trapped behind cold walls and steel bars. Imagine knowing that your family is growing older, your children are becoming adults, and your country is changing without you. Most people would give up. Most people would lose hope. But one man refused, and when he finally walked out of prison, he did not seek revenge. Instead, he changed the future of an entire nation. This is the incredible story of Nelson Mandela, a man who became one of the most respected leaders in human history, a man who went from prisoner to president, and a man whose courage inspired millions around the world. Nelson Mandela was born on July 18, 1918, in a small village called Mvezo in South Africa. His real name was Rolihlahla Mandela. In his native language, the name meant something like troublemaker. No one knew that this young boy would one day challenge an entire government. Mandela grew up in a traditional African community. Life was simple. There were no modern cities around him, no television, no internet. Most days were spent outdoors. He herded cattle, played with friends, and listened to stories told by village elders. These stories would shape his future. The elders spoke about African leaders who fought for justice and freedom. Young Mandela listened carefully. He admired their courage. Even as a child, he dreamed of doing something important with his life. As Mandela grew older, he received an education that many children in his village never had. His teachers quickly noticed that he was intelligent and determined. He loved learning. He believed education could open doors that seemed impossible to reach. But while Mandela studied, South Africa was becoming a deeply divided country. A system of racial discrimination was growing stronger. White citizens held most of the power. Black citizens faced unfair laws. They had fewer rights, fewer opportunities, and little political power. This system would later become known as apartheid. Apartheid was more than discrimination. It controlled nearly every part of daily life. People were separated because of their race. They lived in different areas, used different schools, used different facilities, and were treated very differently by the law. For millions of black South Africans, life became extremely difficult. Mandela could see this injustice everywhere. The more he learned, the more he realized that something needed to change. As a young man, Mandela moved to Johannesburg. The city was completely different from his village. It was larger, busier, and full of opportunity. But it was also full of inequality. Mandela worked various jobs while continuing his education. He studied law. During this time, he met people who shared his concerns about the future of South Africa. They believed that apartheid was wrong. They believed that all citizens deserved equal rights. Among these groups was the African National Congress, often called the ANC. Mandela joined the organization. At first, the movement focused on peaceful protest. They organized campaigns, meetings, demonstrations. They hoped that public pressure would convince the government to change its policies. But the government refused. Instead, authorities responded with arrests and restrictions. Many activists were watched closely. Some were imprisoned. Others were threatened. Despite the risks, Mandela became increasingly involved. His leadership skills stood out. People admired his confidence, his intelligence, and his ability to inspire others. Soon, he became one of the most important voices in the movement. As the years passed, tensions increased across South Africa. Many peaceful protests were met with violence. One shocking event changed everything. In 1960, police opened fire on protesters in Sharpeville. Dozens of people were killed. The tragedy shocked the world. For Mandela and many others, it was a turning point. They began to question whether peaceful resistance alone could defeat apartheid. The government continued tightening its control. Organizations were banned. Activists were hunted. Mandela eventually went underground. For months, he moved secretly from place to place. Authorities searched for him constantly. Newspapers called him the Black Pimpernel because he seemed impossible to catch. But eventually, his luck ran out. In 1962, Mandela was arrested. The government saw him as a dangerous threat. His supporters saw him as a freedom fighter. His trial attracted international attention. Then came another major trial, the Rivonia trial. The government accused Mandela and several others of serious crimes. The possibility of a death sentence hung over them. The world watched anxiously. During the trial, Mandela delivered one of the most famous speeches in history. He spoke calmly, clearly, fearlessly. He explained why he had dedicated his life to fighting injustice. Then he said words that would echo around the world. He declared that he had fought against white domination. He had fought against black domination, and that he believed in a democratic society where all people could live together with equal opportunities. It was an ideal, he said, for which he was prepared to die. The courtroom fell silent. Those words transformed him into a global symbol. In 1964, the verdict arrived. Mandela was sentenced to life imprisonment. He would not be executed, but he would lose his freedom. At least for now, he was sent to Robben Island, a prison located off the coast of Cape Town. The conditions were harsh. His cell was tiny. The floor was hard. The work was exhausting. Prisoners spent long hours breaking rocks under the sun. Food was limited. Comfort was almost non-existent. Years passed. Then more years. Then even more. Outside prison, South Africa continued changing. Governments rose and fell around the world. Technology advanced. New generations were born. But Mandela remained behind bars. Many prisoners would have become bitter. Some would have lost hope. Mandela chose a different path. He focused on discipline, education, and self-control. He read constantly, studied constantly, learned constantly. He encouraged fellow prisoners to do the same. Some even described the prison as a university because prisoners spent so much time learning from each other. Mandela understood something important. His body was imprisoned, but his mind did not have to be. As the years continued, Mandela's reputation grew. Ironically, prison made him more powerful. People around the world began demanding his release. Students marched. Activists organized campaigns. Governments spoke out. His name became known across continents. Millions who had never met him viewed him as a symbol of justice. The phrase, "Free Nelson Mandela," appeared on posters, banners, and signs everywhere. Meanwhile, South Africa faced increasing pressure. Economic sanctions hurt the country. International criticism intensified. The apartheid government found itself becoming more isolated. By the 1980s, leaders began realizing that the situation could not continue forever. Secret discussions started. Government officials quietly met with Mandela. Even while imprisoned, he remained one of the most influential figures in the country. The authorities understood something remarkable. They could lock him in a cell, but they could not erase his influence. Finally, after 27 years in prison, everything changed. On February 11th, 1990, Nelson Mandela walked free. The moment was broadcast around the world. Millions watched. People cheered. Many cried. For nearly 3 decades, he had been separated from ordinary life. Now he was free. But an even greater challenge awaited him. South Africa stood on the edge of disaster. Years of division had created deep anger. Many feared civil war. Some expected revenge. Others expected violence. Mandela surprised everyone. Instead of calling for revenge, he called for reconciliation. Instead of encouraging hatred, he encouraged unity. This was one of the most extraordinary decisions of his life. He understood that revenge might satisfy anger, but it would not build a future. South Africa needed healing, not more division. The years that followed were filled with negotiations. Political leaders worked to create a new democratic system. The process was difficult. Violence still occurred. Trust was fragile. Failure always seemed possible. But Mandela continued pushing forward. His calm leadership helped keep hope alive. Then came a historic moment. In 1994, South Africa held its first democratic election in which citizens of all races could vote. Long lines formed across the country. Many people waited for hours. Some had never voted before. For them, it was a moment they had dreamed about for decades. When the results were announced, Nelson Mandela became president of South Africa. The former prisoner had become the leader of the nation. It was one of the most remarkable political transformations in history. People around the world celebrated. But Mandela understood that becoming president was only the beginning. The country still faced enormous challenges. Poverty remained widespread. Inequality remained severe. Communities remained divided. Mandela worked to unite the nation. One of his most famous actions involved rugby. At the time, many black South Africans viewed the national rugby team as a symbol of the old system. Mandela saw an opportunity. Instead of rejecting the team, he supported it. When South Africa hosted the Rugby World Cup in 1995, Mandela publicly backed the players. The gesture surprised many people. It sent a powerful message. The country could move forward together, not as separate groups, but as one nation. The image of Mandela wearing the team's jersey became famous around the world. It symbolized forgiveness, unity, and leadership. During his presidency, Mandela focused on strengthening democracy and promoting reconciliation. He knew that no leader could solve every problem. But he believed that building strong institutions was essential for the future. Perhaps one of his greatest achievements was something many leaders struggled to do. He chose not to stay in power. After serving one term as president, Mandela stepped down. He could have tried to remain in office. Many leaders do. Instead, he respected democratic principles and allowed new leadership to emerge. Even after leaving office, Mandela remained active. He supported charitable causes, promoted education, and encouraged peace around the world. His influence extended far beyond South Africa. People admired not only what he achieved, but how he achieved it. His ability to forgive amazed many observers. After spending 27 years in prison, he could have emerged filled with anger. Instead, he emerged with a vision for unity. That decision changed history. In later years, Mandela became a global icon. World leaders sought his advice. Crowds gathered wherever he appeared. Awards and honors came from around the world. Yet he often reminded people that he was not a saint. He viewed himself as an ordinary person who tried to do the right thing under difficult circumstances. As he grew older, Mandela gradually stepped away from public life. His health declined, but his legacy continued growing. On December 5, 2013, Nelson Mandela passed away at the age of 95. The news spread quickly across the world. Tributes arrived from every continent. Presidents, prime ministers, activists, athletes, and ordinary citizens honored his memory. People remembered his courage, his patience, his determination, and his belief that a better future was possible. Today, Nelson Mandela remains one of the most respected figures in modern history. His story is not simply about politics. It is about resilience. It is about refusing to surrender when everything seems lost. It is about choosing hope over hatred and unity over revenge. A young boy from a small village became a prisoner. That prisoner became a symbol, and that symbol became a president. Few people ever changed the course of history. Nelson Mandela did. And perhaps his greatest lesson is this: true strength is not found in revenge. True strength is found in forgiveness. Because sometimes the people who change the world are not those who conquer others. They are those who conquer themselves.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey through history, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe for more epic countdowns. See you next time.